He drove a second-hand car. He wore the same coat for years, held together with a safety pin. He cut his own firewood into his 90s. Everyone who knew him assumed he was broke. Then he died, and the will was read. $8 million. No inheritance. No lottery. No secret startup. A gas station attendant and a department store janitor left behind $8 million and left most of a town speechless. So how? How does a man who looked broke his whole life quietly out-invest doctors and lawyers who earned 10 times more and die a multi-millionaire? By the end of this, you'll know the exact 3 moves he made and the one thing he refused to do that made all the difference. Grab a coffee. Don't feed the goose. Let's meet the richest janitor in history. He was a real guy. He grew up on a farm so poor he hitchhiked and walked miles to school, the first in his family to finish high school. He came home from the war and took the jobs nobody brags about, pumping gas for decades, then a janitor at a department store. By every visible measure, an ordinary working man. He clipped coupons. He drove an old Toyota. He parked far away to dodge the meter. When his coat ripped, safety pin, not a new coat. And here's what everyone got wrong, the goose included. They saw the patched coat and assumed empty pockets. They mistook frugal for poor, because while nobody was watching, this quiet man was doing something with every spare dollar. Something boring. Something that, over a lifetime, turned a janitor's wage into a fortune bigger than most executives ever see. What was he doing? That's move 1, and it's the least glamorous thing you've ever heard. Move 1. He spent less than he earned, always. This sounds too simple to matter. It's everything. Most people, when the paycheck grows, grow the life to match. A bigger car, nicer stuff. Income goes up, savings stay flat. He never did that. Modest wage, and he spent even less. That gap, the money left over, is his ammunition. You cannot invest a dollar you already spent. Move 1, just make sure there are dollars. Move 2. He bought boring and never sold. Here's where it gets good. No gambling, no hot tips. He bought small pieces of big, boring, everyday companies, the ones people buy from no matter what, banks, phone companies, household brands. And he bought the ones that pay a dividend, just a slice of the company's profit, paid to you, the owner, in cash, every quarter. Then he did the hardest thing in investing, nothing. He held, for decades, 50, 60 years on some. Markets crashed, 87, 2000, 2008. The goose screamed sell every time. He didn't listen. He kept every share and used every dividend to buy more shares. That's the snowball. A coin buys a share, the share pays a coin. That coin buys another share, which pays another coin. Slow at first, then, after enough decades, an avalanche is musty plus years to compound. Compounding is a liar for most of the ride. For decades, it looks like nothing is happening. Flat, boring, disappointing. Then, right near the end, it goes vertical. Most of his $8 million was made in the final stretch on money he planted half a century earlier. This is why "I'll start when I have more money" is the most expensive sentence in personal finance. It is not how much you start with, it is how much time you give it. The one who starts early with a little usually beats the one who starts late with a lot. Time did the heavy lifting. Not genius, not luck, time. And the open loop from the very start, the one thing he refused to do, he refused to feed the goose. Every temptation to get rich quick, to sell in fear, or to look richer than he was, he said no. For 60 years. That is the secret. Boring, repeated for a very long time, is a superpower. You won't wear a safety-pinned coat, and you don't have to, but you can steal the engine. 4 steps. 1. Create the gap. Spend less than you earn, on purpose. Even a small automatic amount, pay yourself first, the second you're paid, before you can see it. No gap, no ammo. 2. Buy boring and own everything. He handpicked stocks, you don't have to, and most people shouldn't. Today there's an easier version of exactly what he did. A low-cost index fund. One purchase and you own a tiny slice of hundreds of boring everyday companies at once. In Canada, a single all-in-one ETF does it in one click. Fees matter here, because a fee is just the goose taking a bite every year. A boring, low-fee index is a very hungry, very disappointed goose. 3. Then do nothing. Once it's set, the job is to not touch it. Don't check it daily. Don't sell when the news is scary. Automate the buying and walk away. His genius was mostly patience. 4. Start now, not later. The best day to plant the tree was decades ago. The second best is today. You can't get his 60 years back, but the years you do have are the most valuable thing you own. Waiting is the one move you can never undo. None of this is flashy. That's the point. Flashy is how the goose eats. Boring is how you win. He never bragged. Most of his neighbors only learned what he had done after he was gone, when he left millions to the local library and hospital. He didn't have a big income. He had discipline, boring investments, and time. And he refused, for 60 years, to feed the goose. You don't need 8 million to copy him. You need the gap, the boring fund, the patience, and the guts to start now. That is the whole secret the richest janitor in history hid in plain sight. I'm Mr. Looney, Canadian Money Made Simple. If a janitor just out-invested every hot stock friend you've got, subscribe and tell me below the most boring money move you've ever made. And whatever you do, don't feed the goose. Now maybe a voice in your head is doing what the goose wants, saying, okay, one weird janitor, one lucky lifetime. So let me kill that excuse right now. Because he isn't the only one. This exact pattern shows up again and again with people who had even less. Meet a woman who worked as a secretary at the same company for over 40 years. She lived in a tiny one-bedroom house she was given. She bought her clothes at rummage sales. She walked most places instead of owning a fancy car. If you passed her on the street, you'd never look twice. Back in the 1930s, she took a small slice of her pay and bought 3 shares of the company she worked for. Just 3. Then she did the janitor's magic trick. She never sold. Every time the company paid a dividend, she bought a little more. And she waited. Not 5 years. Not 10. Decades. The goose was screaming the whole time. Sell, spend, live a little. She ignored it for a lifetime. When she passed away, those 3 little shares and their reinvested dividends had grown into roughly $7 million. A secretary. 3 shares. 7 million. Same fingerprints as the janitor. Spend less. Buy boring. Never sell. Give it time. Don't feed the goose. 2 completely different people. 2 completely different jobs. Same 4 moves and the same jaw-dropping result. That's not luck. That's a recipe. So let's make the magic unmagical. Let me show you the actual gears turning, because once you see them, you can't unsee them. There's a shortcut called the Rule of 72. Take 72, divide it by your yearly return, and you get how many years it takes your money to double. Say your money grows around 7% a year, roughly what a boring index has done over the long run. 72 divided by 7 is about 10, so your money doubles about every 10 years. Watch what that does. A dollar becomes 2 in 10 years. 2 becomes 4 in 20. 4 becomes 8 in 30. 8 becomes 16 in 40. That same single dollar, left alone, is $16 by the end, and you did nothing but wait. Now imagine it's not $1. Imagine it's every spare dollar for a lifetime. That's the janitor. That's the secretary. Here's the part that stings. That coffee, the daily one. $5 a day is about $150 a month. Invested steadily for a few decades at that boring rate, that small coffee habit could have quietly grown into a number with a lot of zeros. I'm not telling you to never buy coffee. I'm telling you the goose wants you to believe small amounts don't matter. Because small amounts, given time, are the whole game. So why doesn't everyone do this? Because the goose has 3 lies, and it whispers them your whole life. Let's rip each one apart. Lie number 1. You need a lot of money to start. Wrong. The secretary started with 3 shares. Today, you can start with the price of a pizza. The amount barely matters at the start. The habit does. A small amount, automatic, every single time you're paid, beats a big amount you're waiting to have. You will never feel ready. Start small, start now. Lie number 2. Investing is just gambling. Gambling is betting on one thing and hoping. What the janitor did is the opposite. Owning a boring index fund means owning a tiny slice of hundreds of real companies at once. Companies selling things people buy every single day. If a few fail, the rest carry you. That's not a bet. That's owning the whole casino instead of pulling one lever. The goose loves when you gamble, because gamblers feed it. Lie number 3. It's too late for me. The best time to plant the tree was decades ago. You've heard that. But the goose skips the second half. The second best time is today. The janitor's money made most of its millions in his final stretch, on money planted long before. Your job isn't to have started yesterday. Your job is to not let the goose talk you out of starting this week. Okay, you're sold. You want to copy the janitor. Here's the Canadian version, in plain English. Canada gives you special buckets that let your money grow, while the taxman, a very hungry goose in a little hat, gets nothing. Bucket 1. The tax-free savings account. Money grows inside it tax-free, and you can take it out tax-free. For most people starting out, this is the first bucket to fill. The goose hates the TFSA because it can't take a bite. Bucket 2. If you're saving for your first home, the first home savings account is almost cheating in your favor. A break going in and coming out, if used for a home. Bucket 3. The RRSP lowers your tax bill today and grows sheltered until retirement. Great once your income climbs. And here's the move that ties it to the janitor. You open one of these buckets, and inside it you buy the boring, low-fee, all-in-one index fund. One account, one fund, automatic every payday. That's it. That's the entire empire. Now forget the noise. The goose wants you drowning in hot takes and ticker symbols, because a confused person does nothing, and a person who does nothing feeds the goose. Only 3 numbers matter. 1. Your savings rate, how big the gap is between what you earn and what you spend. Widen the gap. 2. Your fees. Every percent you pay someone is a percent that never compounds. 3. Your time, the one thing you can't buy back, which is why the only urgent move is to start. Nail those 3, and you don't need to be smart. You don't need to be lucky. You don't need to be rich. The janitor wasn't any of those things. 2 ordinary people, a mop and a typewriter. No big salaries, no secret edge, no rich family. Just a gap they protected, boring things they never sold, decades they refused to interrupt, and a goose they refused, every single day, to feed. You don't need 8 million to start. You need the gap, the boring fund, the right bucket, and the guts to begin before you feel ready. Do the boring thing, on purpose, for a long time. That's the whole secret hiding in plain sight. I'm Mr. Looney, Canadian money, made simple. If a janitor and a secretary just out-invested every hot stock genius you know, subscribe. One of these every week. Tell me below, what's the most boring money move you've ever made? And whatever you do, don't feed the goose.